When is Land Sale 2? I'm going to answer that for you right now. No fuss, just pay attention. The first thing we need to discuss is this comment by Aaron. Now, I've seen comments by several devs and team members and things around this same sentiment. So keep in mind that this isn't anything set in stone, but this is kind of where people's heads are at, and that is really important to take note of. So I am going to read this verbatim because I think it's really important. This is from Aaron of Illuvium. I'm just stating facts. Someone saw there are 100K total plots, and I get that. It's a lot, but they don't get minted until we can smoothly meet demand. We shouldn't do a sale if it means those who buy now lose out. The best way is to let current people get some good rewards, and then when demand starts to get so high that 20K plots can't keep up, then we do a sale. We can't wait too long though, because otherwise fuel prices will get high. Great for landholders though. Now, what am I telling you here? That the land sale is most likely not around the corner. I've done some speculative price analysis and future price prediction based on CSGO and its price curve, well, its adoption curve since its beginning. This is really important and interesting information. Obviously, we're not going to necessarily follow a CSGO adoption curve of any stretch, but it is a competitive game. It did take a while to get off the ground. So I think it's interesting as a conservative view, especially, but it's based around one game. Illuvium will have many games. So some of this will be different in the future, but it's a really interesting comparison to make, and you're about to see why. So the other detail I really have to share with you is kind of what I'm basing on here. I've looked up a couple of articles. They'll all be in the description down below. Also, if you guys want to learn more about Illuvium, definitely jump in the Shiny Shards Discord down below. We keep growing really quickly, and there's so much happening in this ecosystem, you're not going to want to miss out. Also, Emergent DAO is down below. If you're interested in other NFT games and things like that as well, there's some great creators in there doing some amazing things, building some crazy stuff. Anyways, with this, I have looked up a few statistics and I've come up with a couple of major figures. Firstly, the average annual spend of an American on in-game purchases. Now, this particular figure is actually based on PC games. So $71 in a year. This seems low to me, okay? $71 in a year on cosmetic items and skins and things like that is one thing. Illuvium is going to bring a whole new range of values to the table, and I think it's worth noting that before we go any further. I think this number could be a lot higher considering an Axie team not quite at its peak. A standard one would have cost you 200 USD. I think it's worth keeping in mind that crypto games are in their own zone here, okay? So this isn't going to track necessarily directly, but it's definitely worth considering that this is kind of our baseline. The other interesting figure, and I pulled quite a few of these that all said kind of the same thing as far as PC gaming was concerned, was that the percentage of people actually spending money on a game like Fortnite is 69%. I couldn't believe this myself. Apparently it's over 90% on MMOs. Now, obviously this can be a very small amount, but if that's the average annual spend in game, then it doesn't really matter at the $71 mark. The other interesting thing to note was it was actually like 0.5% of mobile gamers are contributing to over half of the total spend. So when I'm looking at this, I am trying to hone in on PC as much as I can because I think that's where Illuvium's focus will be, at least for the most part. And most major competitive games of the past decade have been on PC. Times are changing, things will adjust, worth keeping in mind. So using that, I actually pulled data of daily active users from CSGO, okay, off the Steam charts. Now, this is crazy. It's actually in backwards order, and my charts are in the forwards order, so don't worry about that. But they started off month one, probably not a very accurate representation. They start off with 933 daily active users. The next month, it jumped up to 15K daily active. Had quite a slow burn there. And you can see it just kind of had pumps on the way. And you'll see this in the chart in a second. More importantly, I did want to derive monthly active users, okay? This is a stat that's more commonly used in the area, and it's a stat that I think is more relevant to our average player spend in the year, Okay, and I've correlated all that year to month. It's mostly built out in month now, so keep all that in mind. 90% of these figures are monthly. You'll know which ones are the annual ones. These, for example, are all monthly. And yeah, so you're looking at 680,000 monthly active users at that stage. It's a rolling 30 days, so that one's probably a bit off, but you can see some trends and patterns and things here. What I then did was charted it against my T1 through to T4 plots and how I calculated them in past videos. So for anyone that doesn't know, effectively I grabbed all the fuel and all the elements. I added a 50% extra weighting to the fuels because I believe they will be more valuable in general, given you can sell them to the open market directly. And they're going to be a bit more expensive to convert and things like that. So I gave them an extra weighting, which does kind of adjust the figures, but not as much as you might think. I think the weighting could be higher and it's important for the overall fuels, but it's more important when comparing the different tiers, not necessarily their revenue potential and the potential for when land sale too. And don't worry, I'm getting to it. We're almost there. Okay, so let's jump back into it. So now we're just going to look at the chart. Okay, we're going to start with T1 and go all the way through to T4. Okay. All these charts look really similar. That's because they're based on the same CSGO daily active users charting and stuff like that. So this red line is really important. Broken up by month. It might look weird because it's on $60. That's because it's broken up by month. Broken up by month, that line basically indicates where there's enough players in the ecosystem based on these things I mentioned before, that there's enough players in the ecosystem that the T1 land in this case has a 12-month return on investment. Okay. Looking at these numbers and getting up to about 20-25 million players potentially, you're looking at like 2029. Now, I know this seems ridiculous. I'll show you some other stuff in a second, but 2029 is where we could start to see land be super valuable and invested, and then maybe land sale 2 drops. That line is kind of where I'm looking at for land sale 2. T2 looks really similar. It's actually doing slightly better off. For the starting price of land, I just put them all at 20% because that was pretty much where it bottomed out on the land sale. T3, you can see it's actually declining a bit. T3 has a little bit of trouble getting off the ground because of the way its elements and fuels are split up and things like that. Obviously, at maximum efficiency, you might start really crushing some of these numbers. These are all at average, but you can max out the efficiency and earn potentially significantly more than other players in the game if they're focusing on blueprints and stuff like that. I haven't really included blueprints too much in my figures here, but realistically, the $71 of average player spend should include all cosmetic items, and in theory, that includes blueprints. So, and if it's all proportionate, then it should be kind of arbitrary and irrelevant. If that doesn't make sense to you guys, leave a comment down below. I'll try and explain it a bit better in a pinned comment. It's a hard one to explain. At T4, you see it getting absolutely crushed. Don't know what else to say about that. Actually, I'm not entirely sure why the numbers are lining up quite like that, but it's getting a bit crushed. Obviously, in the long term, it's going to earn you more. But yeah, so a T2, I think, was the best in this scenario. So now what we should look at, so this is looking about 2029. Yeah, 2029 for pretty much all of them. Even in T4 when it peaks out. What we should look at now is potential player spend and upping it. So if I up this player spend to $250, okay, then this changes a lot. You know what? Let's make it $200. Let's be a bit more conservative. So if every player is spending $200 annually, okay, we're looking at the next land sale happening just after 2 years' time. Starting this off in August, assuming the game launches in August. It's probably unlikely, but I thought it was as good a date to put in as any, really. So in just over 2 years' time, you're looking at your 12-month ROI on any given land, or a T1 in this case, about the same for a T2, a little bit later for a T3, and closer to 2025 for a T4. But T4 is performing pretty well, earning about, at its peak, earning about $7,000 every month. T3 earning about $2,500, talking 2030 here. Like I would kill for $2,500 a month from my land. I think that's more than I earn now. And a T1, you're looking about 900 to 1,000. I mean, you own 4 T1 plots and you're doing pretty well. Let's put it that way. No, wait, sorry, that was T2. And T1, you're looking close to about $300 a month. So you'd need a lot more of them. Let's put it that way. So I hope you guys got something out of this. When Land Sale 2, I would bet for just over 2 years from now, if I were a betting man. And you guys know me, I like to degen. So yes, I am a betting man. I hope you guys got something out of it. It was a really interesting experiment to run. A lot of data points here. All the links are going to be in the description. Please have a good day. See you guys.